Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Anyways, let's get into the stories. I remember embarrassing my fiance at dinner after he joked about my upbringing. Hi Reddit, I'm Andrea, 28 female. I'm originally from Colombia but have been living in the US for about 10 years. My fiance, David, 30 male, and I have been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months, and until now, I thought we were on the same page about respecting each other's backgrounds. For context, I grew up in a small town in Colombia, and while we didn't have much money, my parents worked tirelessly to provide for my siblings and me. I'm incredibly proud of where I come from. It shaped me into the strong, resourceful person I am today. Recently, David and I went out to dinner with his friends, a group of mostly professionals in their late 20s, early 30s. These are people I've met a handful of times, and while they've always been polite, I've sometimes felt out of place because of the subtle comments they make about my accent or my exotic background. I usually brush it off, but this dinner was different. During the meal, one of David's friends was sharing a story about their recent trip to Europe, talking about authentic experiences and local food. Out of nowhere, David chimed in with, "Well, Andrea doesn't need to travel for authentic experiences. She grew up eating off banana leaves in the jungle, right, babe?" The table erupted in laughter. I was stunned. Not only was his comment wildly inaccurate and frankly ignorant, but it was also deeply humiliating. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. I calmly smiled and said, "Actually, David, I grew up in a small town, not the jungle, and while we didn't eat off banana leaves, we did learn how to respect people's cultures, which you seem to have missed." Ooh, ate him up. The table went silent. David turned bright red and mumbled something about just joking, but the vibe for the rest of the evening was noticeably tense. When we got home, David was furious. He said I embarrassed him in front of his friends and that I blew a harmless joke way out of proportion. I told him that his comment wasn't harmless. It was condescending and made me feel like I was the butt of the joke in front of people who already saw me as different. He's been cold ever since, accusing me of being too sensitive and saying I should have just laughed it off. I feel like I stood up for myself in a respectful way, but now I'm questioning if I should have handled it differently. So Reddit, am I wrong for calling out my fiance at dinner? One thing I really hate is wannabe comedians. People who say the dumbest things that they think is funny to them and everybody else at the wrong time. You can clearly see LP isn't too comfortable, or these people are not making her as comfortable as she would like because of her background and because of their differences. Why would you then try to make a joke? Like, what? Top comment. So it's okay for him to humiliate you, but not for you to defend yourself. Obviously, it wasn't harmless. It was deeply bigoted, and so were all the people who laughed. He's waiting for you to apologize, and I suggest you have a conversation about whether your feelings matter, and does he really think of you in the way he described you, and why he felt that everybody having a laugh at you was okay, because he didn't sound like he cares much about how you were feeling or what position he put you in. Are there any red flags you've been letting go? Not the a-hole. Then OP replied saying, "That's what irritates me more than the joke itself. Like he wants me just to endure it." Exactly. Like you say something rude and disrespectful to someone, even at that moment, if you don't think it's rude, if someone says, "Hey, I don't like this, and this made me feel this type of way," just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. It won't happen again." Like, how hard is that? I guess people are just, everybody has a big ego, you know? Nobody wants to admit that they're wrong or that the harmless joke that they made was anything bad, you know? They just want to gaslight you into accepting it. Next story. Amarma refused to attend my best friend's wedding after she replaced me as maid of honor because I'm too fat and asking her to pay me back for everything. I, 27 female, have been best friends with Claire, 28 female, since high school. When she asked me to be her maid of honor, I was thrilled and went all out to make her wedding special. I paid for the bridal shower, bachelor party, a weekend trip, decorations, and other expenses, spending several $1,000s. While it was a lot of money for my husband and me, I wanted to make her big day perfect because she's like family to me. 2 months ago, I shared that I'm 4 months pregnant. Claire congratulated me but started acting distant afterwards. She excluded me from conversations about the wedding and made passive comments about how hard it is to coordinate when people were distracted. I brushed it off, thinking it was wedding stress. Her pregnancy is a distraction? What? And you guys, not to interrupt the story, but I've never been a maid of honor before. Tell me this to anybody who has been a maid of honor before. is it normal for people to be like, for the maid of honor to be spending all this money on the person that's getting married in the accident, like the bride? Thousands of dollars? What? A few days ago, she sat me down and told me she didn't want me in the wedding anymore. Her reason? I'm getting too fat and she doesn't want me in the pictures. She said she has a specific vision for her wedding and I no longer fit. I was devastated. I asked if this was about my pregnancy, but she insisted it wasn't personal. She said she was replacing me as maid of honor with another friend who fit her aesthetics. I told her if I wasn't in the wedding, I wouldn't attend at all. I also handed her the receipt for everything I had paid for and told her she or her fiancé needed to reimburse me since I'd only spent the money as her maid of honor. Claire flipped out, calling me selfish and accusing me of trying to ruin her wedding. She said it was tacky to ask for the money back and that expenses like these were my responsibility as a maid of honor. I reminded her that she removed me from that role, so those expenses were no longer mine. Since then, Claire, her fiancé, and even her family have been spamming me with calls and texts. They're accusing me of being petty and overreacting because of my pregnancy hormones. They're also saying I should have just let it go and written off the money because weddings are stressful and Claire didn't mean to hurt me. My husband has been incredibly supportive and says I did the right thing. He's furious at how Claire treated me and agrees that I shouldn't be out thousands of dollars for a wedding I'm not part of. I feel heartbroken and humiliated by someone I thought was my best friend. Still, the constant backlash has made me second-guess myself. Am I wrong for standing up for myself and asking for reimbursement? Should I have just quietly stepped aside? Honestly, if someone has the audacity to tell you, oh, you're getting too fat and you no longer fit my aesthetics after months and thousands of dollars, like the time is a wait. Like when your time gets wasted, you can't get it back. I feel like money you can get back because you can always work, but you can't get time back. You wasted all this time and energy and effort into making this person's wedding special. You spent thousands of dollars, not only that belongs to you, but also belongs to your husband. And they say, oh, I'm happy that you're pregnant and all, but you don't fit my aesthetics and you're too fat. I feel like that person wasn't going to give you your money to begin with. If anybody has the audacity to say that, that is a person that's not going to give you no money. If they're morally corrupted to say something like that, they're not going to be morally okay to be giving back some money. So I would have just taken my losses. I wouldn't even go back and forth with her. I would have just blocked her, anybody who knows her, and I would never, ever speak to her and just take my loss because what are you supposed to do about this? This is so embarrassing and dehumanizing. Oh, you're too fat and you no longer fit my aesthetics. How can human beings be aesthetic? That's so psychotic. A commenter said, when on earth did it become other people's responsibility to pay thousands of dollars for someone else's wedding? You should have dropped the money in the first place, but now at least you don't have to waste any more time thinking about this person as your friend, not the a-hole. And I feel like in the comments, OP said somewhere else that, someone said, not the a-hole, you shouldn't be calling her a friend. And OP was like, well, this is out of nowhere. I've never heard, I feel like she's never treated me like this. I feel like this person, the person in, like the bride, she sounds fatphobic. And she's been treating other people like that. If someone can treat their own best friend who's been doing all of this, like, for them, like this, I'm pretty sure they've been calling other people fat and being mean to fat people in general. So I think like OP, this is the first time she's experiencing this type of negative energy from her friend because this is the first time she's actually been big. You know what I mean? Sometimes we love someone and they're good to us and we have a good experience with them, but someone else may not have a good experience with them. And then until you're in the situation as someone else, then you won't, you know what I'm trying to say, like, you won't see that side of them, you know what I mean? That's like, if you ask somebody, oh, how is that person? You can ask this person and they'll tell you that person is nice. You can ask someone else and they'll say, oh, the person is rude. You can ask someone else and they say that person is greedy. Like, everybody will have a description for a specific person because everybody has a different experience with that specific person. I feel like OP, this is the first time she's experiencing this type of energy from her friend, but clearly her friend is just generally like this because there's no way you can wake up one day and be evil and this cruel. Clearly this cruelty is something that she has been having for a while because you can't treat your best friend and your maid of honor who spent all this time and effort to make your wedding the way you want it to be just because she's getting a bit big. Obviously, you're mean to big people, and this is the first time OP experienced it because it's the first time she's been big. You know what I mean?